jars can be reused to store food and spices, as a holder for combs and brushes in the bathroom, or as a container for plants and homemade candles, in addition to simply being recycled. Find tips and more at onethingus.com.
I'm Amy Lawrence, and I'm up late, always, after hours, hanging out with you on CBS Sports Radio. Check it out, 2 a.m. Eastern, 11 p.m. Pacific.
Enjoy sun-drenched days, epic stays, and plenty of room to roam in Greater Fort Lauderdale. Our hotels, attractions, and restaurants have taken the Visit Lauderdale's Safe and Clean pledge, so you can relax and explore with confidence. When you're ready for that well-deserved staycation, our 23 miles of golden beaches await. Find wide-open spaces to hike, bike, kayak, and paddleboard. Visit your favorite attractions, then dine out in style in socially distanced dining rooms or al fresco on waterfront patios. Learn more at sunny.org.
Saturday mornings, 8:30 Eastern. Dixie Football Nation is back and better than ever. We've got Tony Agolini, Matt Carr, Tones Ariola, Bobby and Angelo, along with Mac McGee this fall. Dixie Football Nation heads to the gridiron, talking ACC, SEC, the Big Ten, and all the big games throughout the college football land. That's Dixie Football Nation, 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central, Saturday mornings on the Armchair Quarterback Show's YouTube channel, going live. Or catch the instant replay.
15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Is that Shakespeare?
Nope, it's Geico.
Yeah, that's Shakespeare from one of his unpublished works. Oh, it be not for awakening. Nay, giveth thou the berries. For 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
No, it's from Geico, because they help save people money.
Well, I hate to break it to you, but Geico got it from Shakespeare.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
New Year's resolutions. We've all made them. Mine is the same every year. Eat healthier. The eat part usually works out fine. It's the healthier part I forget about. But not anymore, now that I've found the oh-so-chocolatey Built Bar. Built Bars are low-cal, low-sugar, high-protein, high-fiber. Great for keto. Lose or maintain weight while indulging in a yummy treat. At 130 calories, you'll feel like making a resolution every day. Try all 18 amazing flavors. Get yours at BuiltBar.com.
Make contact. A collective psychosis is sweeping the nation. We're in the thick of the haze craze, and Elysian is introducing an altered state of IPA. Contact Haze is a tangled chemistry of mild haze, low bitterness, and an explosion of hop aroma. This hazy IPA bursts with notes of bright raspberry, currant, citrus, guava, and passion fruit. Available in 6-pack cans in stores and in all Seattle Elysian locations. Make.
Hey everybody, it's Eric Harry for the Armchair Quarterbacks. Get yourself a cold Budweiser every Saturday morning and join in the fun and watch the neighborhood play. 10 a.m. Eastern, 9 a.m. Central. They talk about my Cubbies. It's Joey Ariola, Christian Pledge. He's a White Sox fan, but we'll give him a pass. Hey, why do they call it White Sox? Their jerseys always look very dirty to me. Sounds like something that could be cancel culture to me. Let's look into that, Cubbies fans. It's the neighborhood play, only on the YouTube channel on Jack Quarterback Show. Eric Carrot signing off, seeing double, because I'm ordering triples. Go Cubbies and the Armchair Quarterbacks.
Take the scenic route in the new Hyundai Santa Fe, the family SUV with available H-Track all-wheel drive to help you travel way off the beaten path. Find new adventures together in Hyundai Santa Fe.
Saturday mornings, 8:30 Eastern. Dixie Football Nation is back and better than ever. We've got Tony Agolini, Matt Carr, Tones Ariola, Bobby and Angelo, along with Mac McGee this fall. Dixie Football Nation heads to the gridiron, talking ACC, SEC, the Big Ten, and all the big games throughout the college football land. That's Dixie Football Nation, 8:30 Eastern, 7:30 Central, Saturday mornings on the Armchair Quarterback Show's YouTube channel, going live. Or catch the instant replay.
You're in Braves country.
morning, good afternoon, good evening. Special edition of the Armchair Quarterbacks. I know we normally come your way with Braves Country in the late morning, but today we decided to kick this back a little bit because basically the MLB trade deadline has come and gone, and wanting to react to it. As, man, were there a lot of moves across the board, not just the Braves, but everybody was wheeling and dealing. It is unbelievable. Real quick, before we get into the actual trade deadline itself, tonight the Braves go to the mound with Touki Toussaint and his 1-1 record, but a 1.32 ERA versus Corbin Burnes. If Touki pitches the way he's pitched the first two times out, this is going to be a hell of a damn matchup. Hell of a pitching matchup. A good friend of ours, Sean, will be there at the stadium with his family tonight. So looking forward to that. And then, of course, looking into the weekend, what do we have for the Braves? It's Woodruff versus Muller tomorrow night. So, unfortunately, Atlanta's going to get their best two starting pitchers and going to see what they can do with it. And then they're going to go up against Brett Anderson. A little more of a – I mean, when the guy's got a 3.86 ERA and you think that's the guy that you can get, it tells you a lot about how good the Brewers are. We'll go with Morton. So the Braves, this is a good litmus test this weekend to see where we are. I believe even with all the moves that were made today, and there were a ton, I still think the best team top to bottom, when you talk about a baseball team putting it together, is the Milwaukee Brewers. The best baseball team in the National League is the Milwaukee Brewers. Now, the American League, that's a little more up for grabs in my head. I get it that a lot of people are going to tell you that I'm crazy, that it's the Dodgers, that it's the Giants, the Padres in the National League, the Mets. They went out and got Javi Baez. Get into that in a second. But I'm looking at the fact that their pitching is so damn good. Bunches, but they are a consistent scoring bunch. In Milwaukee, with that bullpen and who they have brought to the table, I think they've got a chance to get to the World Series for the first time since '82. So tonight, tomorrow night, and Sunday night, or Sunday afternoon, that is going to be a great litmus test for the Atlanta Braves to see where they're at. The rest of the division, well, the Nationals have officially given up. We'll get into that here in 1 minute. But the Mets are at home against the Reds. They have Cookie Carrasco going back to the mound for the first time this year. He's coming off the IL tonight, and he's going to be going up against Sonny Gray, so that's not going to be an easy W for the Mets. And then the Phillies, who did the most of anyone in the division, which shocked me. I really thought the loudest team in the division outside of Washington's sell-off, I really thought it was going to be the Mets. But the Phillies, they get kind of an easy go. They're going to Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh sold off a lot of parts this weekend. So we'll see what Philadelphia can do in the non-friendly confines of Pittsburgh. So, but let's go ahead and dive into this incredible trading deadline that was much more exciting than in years past. We had some duds recently. We really did. And I'm thinking back to 2019 where not a whole lot was done. And then remember the witching hour, all of a sudden Zach Greinke became available. And that was like, I want to say that news broke around 4:15 in the afternoon. Like, so 15 minutes after the deadline was officially gone, the deal had been done, but at the same token, nobody knew about it. Well, this year, we already had the moves that came flying out the gate over the first few days, right? We had the Yankees going out and getting Joey Gallo, Anthony Rizzo. And so that really got it going. Of course, Adam Frazier going to San Diego last week was a big deal as well. Tampa Bay, Nelson Cruz, that was a big deal as well last week. Let's not forget about that. And of course the Braves had added Jock Peterson and Stephen Vogt right after the trading deadline. I mean, the All-Star break, excuse me. And so that gave them a little bit of a shot in the arm. They go from that to today where it got rolling. And let's not forget, Houston had already bolstered their bullpen. The Oakland A's had already brought in Starling Marte. Escobar had already been traded from Arizona to Milwaukee. So then the Yankees had moved some guys around so they could bring in some guys essentially. And man, oh man, did they make it happen in a big way. I keep in touch with a couple of the writers I used to write with, and one of them kept telling me for 2-3 weeks now, Rizzo's a Cub. Just trust me, they're not going to let him go anywhere else. Because there was rumors that Rizzo could go to Boston, a couple other places. I said, okay. And normally he's got the nail on the head. He's the one that leaked it to me. For people who've been watching the show for a while, he's the guy that leaked it that Pablo Sandoval was going to the Red Sox a long time ago. Many cheeseburgers ago for old Pablo. So when he's one of my EF Huttons. I've got 3 essential EF Huttons in this business. And when he talks, I usually listen. So I said, okay, I believe you. But then when Gallo went, I asked him, I said, well, what does this really mean? He said, they've not given up on Rizzo. I said, all right, we'll see what happens. But they're going to have to start backing the truck up and gut their farm system. He said, Cashman doesn't care about that anymore. I said, okay. I think Cashman, when it's all said and done, Cashman's getting long in the tooth. And Cashman is at the point where I think he's saying, how many more runs am I going to have at this? I've done this so many times that I know now it's all about catching lightning in a bottle. And if we can get hot, to hell with worrying about if we can get the division. That's 8 games in front of us. But we can get that wild card. If we can get that wild card, anything could happen. So I have to commend Cashman for going for it. I have to commend for the Texas Rangers. They sold off their parts and they have restocked. The Nationals have restocked. The Cubs have restocked. These are teams that are going to have guys coming up in the next year or two, along with what they do in free agency, and pretty much look out. Look the hell out, because this is going to be a thing. These are three teams, three franchises: Texas, Chicago Cubs, and the Washington Nationals that won't be down long. They are going to use that draft capital, and they got some good stuff. I mean, if you're not familiar with who Josiah Gray is that went from the Dodgers to the Nationals, the kid is an absolute phenom. This is how you build. This is how the White Sox build the White Sox. Now, the White Sox took a little longer. I don't think it's going to take that long. So if you're in the National League East, your time to win is now. These next couple of years, Atlanta, New York, even Philly, because Washington's going to be back. You always have to worry about the Marlins catching a little burst one year or whatnot, but it'll never sustain because they don't have the money, the capital to contend, because no matter who they bring in, they'll eventually become free agents, and those guys are going to leave because Miami doesn't put butts in seats. But the other teams in the NL East, Atlanta better not sit on their laurels. Next year and the year after, that's their year. That is their chance when they get Acuna back, and that is their chance when they get they've got about a 2 to 3 year window. We're sitting here, in 2021. I say that the window to be prime, in your prime, actually going out and making a serious run. The Braves are from now until about 2023 to 2024, because after that, a lot of these guys are going to start becoming free agents, and you're not going to keep them together. Some of the guys will be aging. They'll be on the backside of their career. So you got to keep that in mind when you're building and rebuilding. I found it funny today. I was watching the reactions because I still love PTI, even though it's a total, I don't want to be mean and call them clowns, but they don't know baseball. And Kornheiser and Wilbon, and I get it. They'll tell you about how they wrote and how they followed baseball and covered baseball, but they were both in shock that the Nationals and the Cubs sold their team off. This news has been around for weeks. When the Nationals fell off and the Cubs hit the 10-game losing streak, it was a wrap. Before that, they gave the players a chance to make a run, and I am a firm believer if both of those teams, if they had not fallen on hard times and not fallen out of the race, you wouldn't have seen them sell off. They have that kind of pride. But they're not going to go out and do this and just you don't want to be the early 2010 Phillies. Remember the Phillies, early 2010s, they held on to all their pieces a year, and Utley and company, it was too late. They were aging. They were broken down. Nobody wanted them. You've got to sell the guys while they still have worth. And I don't believe Scherzer was going to re-sign with Washington. He has made it very clear that he wants to be out west somewhere. It may not be with the Dodgers, which is where he got traded today, but he wants to be out west. His wife's from Colorado. They've got what I think now 3 kids. He wants to be out west. So the Nationals had to look at that and say, look, we're not going to re-sign this guy. He's going to go somewhere. Wherever he goes, either he's going to like the situation or he's not, but he's not coming back here next year. And Washington is 7.5 games back. And I get that that's not insurmountable, but that's the only way you're getting in is winning the division. And you would have to climb 3 teams. It's not realistic. It's not realistic. So they dumped, they sold. Chicago Cubs, they dumped, they sold. They're 11.5 out of the division race. The wild cards are coming out of the West. Now the Cardinals, take a look at them real quick. They made a couple of minor moves. It wasn't anything that's going to shock you, but they evidently believe that they can catch Milwaukee because they made a couple of moves today that really shocked the hell out of me. They brought in J.A. Happ from the Twins and John Lester, which that's got to make Cubs fans' skin crawl. I can't wait to give Joey a hard time about that tomorrow on the handicappers. We're going to go over all this with all the guys tomorrow morning. 10 a.m. Eastern to noon Eastern. We'll be on YouTube live with all the guys. I just want to do a show today to make sure we got this covered. But Lester and Happ go to the Cardinals. Kind of a weird buy. It really is. And they didn't give up much, but the point is they did give up John Gant to go to the Twins. So it wasn't like they didn't give up anything. It was kind of a weird buy because you're 9.5 games behind the Brewers. You also have the Reds in front of you. It was a weird buy. Now, I will say this. They may just be looking at it as, what the hell? We're not giving up a whole lot, and let's give the fans something to pull for. Let's make sure they continue to come to games in August and September. And I get that because it's a baseball town. So you have to like it if you're a Cardinals fan because you're not going to watch a complete dumpster fire like you're going to see in Chicago and in Washington. But it's weird. I did not expect them to start buying. The Cleveland Indians, the biggest thing that they got out of all this, all the moves they made, Miles Straw. Don't sleep on that. Down the road, the Cleveland Indians got Miles Straw in the deal with Houston. I'll deal with the contenders here in a second, but I did want to go over what the guys that gave up stuff got to look towards their future. We talked about the Nats and Josiah Gray, and then they got Keibert Ruiz, who is regarded as one of the best catching prospects in all of baseball. Seattle Mariners, they're still in the hunt. They got Tyler Anderson. And then not only did they get Tyler Anderson, that they stole out from under Philly, which now Braves and Mets fans are like, damn you, Seattle. Because if they get Tyler Anderson, maybe they give up and they don't go out and get Kyle Gibson. But Seattle's trying to reinvent themselves as they sell. It's that weird deal where they're selling and buying in the same breath. The Cubs, we'll go into the Cubs tomorrow. I don't have time to do all that today, but the Cubs got a haul back. And then the Marlins, it is to be noted, they brought in Jesus Luzardo. And if they can turn him around, that they might have something. Now the A's also brought in Josh Harrison and Yan Gomes, and that's an interesting move in itself. But let's go into Toronto. They went out and get Berrios. They also added Joakim Soria, excuse me. I still find that a little odd, but they're making a run for the wild card. And I think they feel like, by the way, tonight's the first night that the Toronto Blue Jays will be at home in a year and a half. So I expect that place to be rocking. They're at home against Kansas City, and they're a game behind the Yankees, so it's not crazy that they made the move. You just normally don't see teams that aren't called the New York Yankees go all in when they're this far out of first place in their own division. The other thing, the Houston Astros, they add Phil Maton, a good righty reliever. Remember, they had already added Graveman, couple of other pieces. Houston's looking at trying to win game by game via the bullpen. So they're going to have a loaded bullpen. I don't believe that they really give a damn about anything else. But they weren't concerned about going out and getting Gibson or Scherzer. They want to have a bullpen, and they're going to try to win it. They're going to try to win it the Tampa Bay Rays way via the bullpen. The Dodgers, everyone's talked your ear off about Scherzer and Trey Turner. I won't go into that. But a little small detail that was overlooked was the fact that they got Danny Duffy, a lefty who has experience coming out of the pen if need be. And he can also eat innings down the stretch. He can be a guy that they can put out there and rest some of their other players, because let's be honest, the Dodgers and the Padres are 5 games in front of the Reds right now for the final wild card. Now, if you look at the wild card in the National League specifically, what you're seeing is when you've got the Dodgers and you've got the Padres leading it in the wild card in the NL. Now, the Dodgers are 2.5 up on the Padres. So for all intents and purposes, the Dodgers have a 7.5 game lead before they would be out of the playoffs. Now, they're only 3 back of the division, but let's focus on the wild card right now. What this means is that the Dodgers are looking at this long term. They've got about 60 games left, so a little less than that, about 58 games left for the Dodgers. And they've got to start. Not only are they looking at Duffy to have in to maybe use out of the bullpen in October, but they're also looking at down the stretch to give some of their other guys a break. The Dodgers are going to make damn sure, because it doesn't look like Trevor Bauer is going to pitch again this year. He's got all that legal trouble with the creepy stuff that he did and the sexual assault that's being accused of him. Not really sure what the hell happened, but there's some smoke there, and it looks like it's going to be enough fire to keep him out. But the Dodgers are going to be looking at this as, if we get to that playoff, that 1-game playing game, if that's how our season ends and we don't catch the Giants, how the hell do we go to the rack without a guy that we can go get him? Get him. And that's Max Scherzer. Max Scherzer is the get him. Now, the Padres, I would tend to think, assuming he's healthy and everything's okay, them, because he's been banged up his whole career, I think you'll see Yu Darvish versus Scherzer. And nothing against Yu Darvish, but no matter where that game is played, the Dodgers are going to be favored. Not by much, but they're going to be favored. So I think the Padres are looking at, well, how do we get the hell out of that game if we don't have Scherzer? We lost out on that. Gibson went to the Phillies. And then you've also got the other situation where Berrios, everyone was bidding on Berrios. You don't want Berrios going up against Scherzer. I'm sorry. In a one-game plan, Berrios is a fine pitcher. He's never been terrible, but he's never been elite where you want him as your number one. Not in a one-game plan. Not with all that's on the line, all the money they've spent. So that's why it's most likely, so everyone's healthy. It's gonna end up being Darvish, who can be phenomenal. But you might only get 5 or 6 innings at him versus Scherzer. Same thing. Scherzer usually burns out in these big games. He usually pitches well, but he doesn't. Scherzer's not a guy you expect to go 8, 9 innings. So then the bullpens come into play, and that's where all the jockeying is going to be. San Diego's had the best bullpen in baseball. The Dodgers were trying to get Kimbrel, that fell through, but they're gonna have all these other pieces that they can bring in and put in the bullpen. How phenomenal was Urias in the bullpen last October? So that's the game that was being played. You got Cincinnati 5 games behind the Dodgers. I'm sorry, 5 games behind the Padres, 7.5 behind the Dodgers. Philly, 7.5. St. Louis, 7.5. Braves, 8. When the Reds and the Cardinals made their moves, they've got to be eyeing the wild card. But that doesn't make a lot of sense. It doesn't make a lot of sense to be eyeing the wild card. So I'm thinking that they're going to be eyeing they could be eyeing the division, but they're much further. But at the same token, if you're eyeing the wild card, you got more teams to jump. So it's a little head scratching that Cincinnati, a lot of their moves they did make to end up going into the next season. The Cardinals, Hap, that was a strange one. All right, moving on from that, let's go into the National League East. And there was some moving and shaking. The Mets, they get Javi Baez and Trevor Williams from the Cubs. Trevor Williams, if you're not familiar with him, he's a solid pitcher, but he's nothing he's not a needle mover. Javi Baez was the big get. And he'll play shortstop until Lindor comes back, and then he'll play second base with Lindor. They're buddies. They grew up together. They played against each other. They're drafted in the same draft class. So they go way back, and that's going to help their locker room, without a doubt. But Philadelphia, what the hell? They brought in Kyle Gibson, Ian Kennedy, which that might be more important than the Kyle Gibson, to be able to have a lockdown closer in the back of your bullpen now. And then, of course, they bring Galvis back. Now, he's on the IL, but he'll be back in time. He'll be back in a couple weeks. And they're looking at the fact that they've had just horrendous defense going on in Philadelphia in the infield. So they hope to plug him in at shortstop. He can also play second base, et cetera, et cetera. Philly's sneaky. They're sneaking around. They're sneaking around, and people are going to overlook them. I overlooked them because I expect them to do Philly type things. The Phillies are usually overrated as hell over the last 5 to 7 years. People say, "Watch out for the Phillies," and then they're terrible. This year they're pretty good. They just have to get that bullpen figured out. When it's all said and done, though, I still say the Phillies don't make it. They're going to find a way to Philly it. And then the Atlanta Braves, this is why we're here. This is why we chop. None of that for the A junk. You're not going to trick me. Big picture. Atlanta Braves signed Jock Peterson because they know they can bring him back next year. They bring in Vogt to help out catching. Darnode should be back in the very near future. When Darnode comes back and you've got him for lefties and Vogt for righties, that's a pretty damn good 1-2 punch behind the plate. Enoa is coming back. And because they did so little at the trading deadline for their bullpen, it's not going to shock me if they say he's going to go start in the bullpen. Because they literally don't have enough time to stretch him out. It takes about a month to stretch these guys out. And if you wait a month, it could be a disaster. But if they could stretch them out in a couple of weeks and get them into the bullpen to help with the addition of Rich Rodriguez that they got from Pittsburgh. Remember, I mean, that guy throws gas. Now he's one-dimensional. He's got like 2 pitches, but he throws gas. He's had an incredible year. Hopefully he can keep that going. They bring in Jorge Soler, who's had a terrible year. But Jorge Soler, y'all, he's the real deal. And if they can figure to get him back on track, they might catch lightning in a bottle this year. Jorge Soler is a guy that when he is on it, pull up his stats real quick for people who are not familiar with who Jorge Soler is. Jorge Soler, you know, those of us that play fantasy baseball, we're well aware of who he is. But listen to his stats. Now, this year's been terrible. 192, 13 home runs. Last year was the shortened, and it scares you a little bit because he was at 228 with 8 home runs. But everyone back then was saying, well, it's a shortened season, blah, blah, blah. What carried over in this year? But in 2019, he hit 48 home runs. They just got a guy who hit 48 home runs for Bryce Wilson. That's a pretty damn good get. You know, he's I guess he's 29 years old this year. And I'm not saying he's going to come back in at 48 home runs, but I'm saying that kind of talent's in there. It's in there somewhere. You don't just forget how to hit home runs. So that one shocked the hell out of me when I saw that come across the screen, because I thought that they were looking at Jorge Soler as a guy that had a couple of down years, but that they would stick with him. Now he's an unrestricted free agent at the end of the year, and that's why they got rid of him. But I really thought Kansas City was going to keep him, because I thought possibly they would say, maybe he'll give us a hometown discount and we'll see if we can figure him out. But anyways, big get there. Adam Duvall comes back. Huge for the clubhouse. We all know what he did. So you bring a couple of righties into the play. They bring in Rosario. Now he's going to be on the IL, won't be back for a few weeks, but when he comes back, he's a lefty bat you can bring in. Everyone's like, where are you going to stick him? Where are you going to put him? We'll worry about that then, because we all know these damn injuries, they pile up. But as of right now, you get rid of Pablo Sandoval. So that's your answer. That's the easy answer of where Adam Duvall is going. And then they're going. I would say Arcia gets sent down, or possibly Adrianza. And depending on which one that they feel better with, I would say when you end up getting Rosario back, it would be nice to have Arcia in that dugout because of his versatility. He's a righty. But right now, Adrianza might be the guy that gets the nod. And of course, you get the expanded rosters in September. Now they're not like they used to be, but you're still going to have an expanded roster in September. So the Braves added pop, which is what they really need. They didn't need starting pitching. I know everyone wants to keep saying, oh, they need starting pitching. They need starting pitching. They need starting pitching. Why? They've got some of the most talented young. If they needed starting pitching, they wouldn't be able to trade Bryce Wilson right now. They don't have enough room for some of the guys. When Soroka comes back, it's going to be a mess. I still think they're holding on to Kyle Wright for a big dog. They're going to trade Kyle Wright for a big dog. Michael, I see your comment that Major League Baseball needs a salary cap. They've got, I mean, it's never going to get agreed to by the CBA. if you ever get that agreed to, there's going to have to be a hard salary floor. And I would be fine with both of them. I would be fine to say, hey, Kansas City, Miami, if you can't figure it out, if you can't spend X amount of dollars per year on your team, then we need to move your franchise somewhere else. And I would be fine with that. But the collective bargaining agreement's never going to see that big picture, and they're not willing to chance it, so they're going to keep it as it is. That all comes down to the collective bargaining agreement, and that's why they don't have one in Major League Baseball, and they have it in the NFL. For years, the National Football League's Players Association has taken a bath in their negotiations. So that takes us over to the American League East. Because by the way, real quick on the Mets, I think the Javi Baez move is a great move. I was just a little shocked they didn't do more. I thought Cohen, with his deep pockets, it seems very energetic. He seemed like a guy that was going to go for it. And I was a little shocked that we didn't see a big-time bat head to New York. Because Javi Baez is not a big-time bat. He might be an exciting player, but he's not a big-time bat. He has a ridiculous swing and miss rate. I don't have it in front of me, but I saw it earlier. I was like, I knew it was bad, but I didn't know he was that damn bad. It's terrible. So he's not going to help their offense per se, but I think he's going to help their defense, and that defense could be elite up the middle when Lindor comes back. Philadelphia, they helped their pitching immensely, and Atlanta helped their bats. They all addressed what they needed, but I thought that Philly did the most. The Mets were shocking that they did not go after more. Some kind of a bat. It didn't have to be another big one, but they needed offense. And then it was also shocking to me that Atlanta didn't get more than just Rodriguez as a reliever. But when it happened, the first thing that popped in my mind was, I think Hino is going to the bullpen this year. And it wouldn't shock me if they bring another from down on the farm that we just assume is not going to, there's going to be in the starting rotation long term. He, like a Tucker Davis or even a Kyle Muller at some point, they might end up in the bullpen to try to fix this junk that we see every time. All right, American League East. It got interesting. The Yankees made it really interesting. And the biggest thing that I'm shocked about, I'm not shocked that the Yankees got aggressive at all. That's what they do. That's who they are. I'm not shocked that the Tampa Bay Rays went out and kind of scuffled their feet today because they already made their big move. There was rumors about them getting. There's always rumors about Tampa Bay getting other guys. Like Barrios was even when Knucklehead was saying Scherzer, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. They're not bringing him in for a rental. It's just not going to happen. But they made a couple other minor moves, and they also traded for some prospects. So that's Tampa Bay Ray doing Tampa Bay Ray things. They're going to take their chances with what they got. Oh, by the way, real quick, it's breaking. Jacob deGrom has suffered a setback, additional inflammation in his right arm. The Mets are shutting him down from throwing for 2 weeks. Wow. I get that they went out and got Trevor Williams, but he ain't no Jacob deGrom. Wow. That could be detrimental to the Mets. If they're going to shut him down for a couple weeks and then try to ramp him back up, Jacob deGrom's not coming back till sometime in September. And if you got him in fantasy baseball, you just got screwed. I've got him in one league. I've got him in one league, and I'm just like, well, that's the end of that. It's a keeper league, so I'll be keeping him, but that's the end of that. That's a devastating blow. Mets fans are going to be jumping out of windows on Monday. Wait till that news circulates in the locker room. As high as they were about Javi Baez, that news will circulate in the locker room right before they get first pitch. We're going to jump off here in a second, but the Red Sox shocked me. I really thought they were going to get a name. I know that they went and got Schwarber, and I get that. And I like the fact that they got Robles. But I'm looking at, I'm sorry, Austin Davis is the one I was thinking of. But that's going to compete with the Yankees. I know, I get it that they're getting Sale back, and that's huge. For the first time in a long time, the National League looks very daunting compared to the American League teams. And that could all change. We hit October, teams get hot, blah, blah, blah. But Schwarber, who hasn't played first base since 2013, and you're going to stick him at first base, that's the move. When you stick a guy to play defense somewhere where he's not familiar with, the first thing that normally does, it affects his damn batting. That's a head scratcher that not that they got him, that was like the get for the Boston Red Sox. Meanwhile, the Yankees are getting Rizzo, they're getting Gallo, Rays are getting Cruz. That's putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound is what that is. I really thought that I wasn't concerned about the Red Sox offense. Their offense is phenomenal. And I like the get of Rizzo in the grand scheme of things, but why the hell didn't they get one of like a Kyle Gibson? I really thought him or Berrios was heading to Boston. We knew Scherzer was going out west, and there wasn't a lot of great starting pitching. But I was shocked when I saw Berrios to Toronto, because Toronto basically scooped him out from under Boston. And Toronto's not, I'm going to put it out here right now, Toronto's going nowhere. But they just screwed Boston because Boston's trying to fight off the Rays and Yankees, and they just screwed the Boston Red Sox in the process. I don't know if that was their motivation, but they did it. And then the Yankees, I thought they did a really good job adding Heaney. I think the Heaney move from the Angels, I think he's going to be a guy that comes in and piggybacks off of Severino when he comes back from his injury. I really think that's because Severino had a setback. He's starting to throw. I don't think the Yankees want to wait. I think they're going to bring him in. And I've read a couple articles where they're in firm belief that he is going to end up being like a glorified opener. In other words, not coming in for one inning, but two or three, and then go from there. Kind of like what the Rays have been playing for Glasnow, if he ever gets back, going to make it. But, you know, if you absolutely knew that you were going to make it, then you would stretch out Severino. But you need Severino to get to the damn playoffs. All right, I've rattled on enough here. I'm going to go ahead and bounce out of here. I hope y'all have a great rest of the night. Get ready for a lot of big series. You got the Rays and Red Sox tonight. You got the Braves and Brewers. Those are probably the two biggest ones. And not to be slept on, Giants and Astros later on tonight. Tomorrow we'll be doing 2 hours. Steven's back, so we're going to do some fantasy football at 10 a.m. And then my Chicago guys are going to come in. We're going to talk about the White Sox getting Kimbrel, about the Cubs and the prospects they got. It should be a lot of fun. We will see you tomorrow. Have a great day, and thanks for tuning in for Braves Country special Major League Baseball trading deadline edition.
You're in Braves Country.